All right, guys, we're gonna watch this Andrew Wilson debate of him tearing down this LGBTQ. I guess he's a pastor. How that even exists, I don't know. But when it comes to debating, Andrew Wilson is that guy. I don't know if I've seen him ever really lose, but there's just a lot to learn here, and there's a lot to see about the bad faith, the disingenuousness of these type of people, these LGBTQ, left wing, whatever. They're already they have no worldview. They're here to destroy. They're here to separate, destroy. They're here to equivocate. They're here to just confuse you. They're here to muddy up the waters. That's all they're here to do. So it's very important to know exactly how to destroy them. That's why you have to watch these things. So let's get into it.
Yeah or no?
So if it's done in that way,
Yeah.
the process is not fascist. The end result might be if they start coming after you with billy clubs to arrest gay people, for example.
Well, they're not going to arrest them, but what if they just don't let them get married?
But if they just
what
don't
if
let them
they
get- no, yeah,
hang on.
Andrew Wilson totally destroys this woke secular humanist, accusing Andrew of spreading fascism in this debate, as Andrew Wilson outsmarts this goon at every point, logically dismantling his argument. He is completely unable to directly answer Andrew Wilson's questions when pressed because he can. Let's get in.
Though I'm asking you if under this democracy we
Yeah, I'm
vote
getting
in
there.
Christian
Yeah, I'm getting
nationalism, what's the problem with it?
Yeah, fair point. I'm getting to that. So what would be bad? Or all the things that I described before. We're going to have...
Now, what would be bad, ultimately, under democracy, the system itself is set so that we can do this, right? If people think it's in their own best interest to vote based on their Christianity, you shouldn't have a problem with that, right?
As long as we follow the law. Yeah, the way the Constitution is written, it should prevent this. But if we ignore the Constitution, burn it down, then yeah, you could have an ideological capture of the government.
Yeah.
But we're not supposed to have that.
Well, wait.
Once you allow someone to capture the government, then you immediately allow someone else to capture the government.
How would this be capturing the government? You want people to vote based on their value structures, right?
Well, as long as they're voting in the same interests of the goal of the
That
government.
you want, right?
That they would want, even a rationally ordered
Well,
person
hang on. If
would want this.
entailed here is that they don't want that.
Let me finish that my explanation to that. So, if you allow a government to just people to just vote for what ideology the government can push, then it's a matter of time only that someone gets in and pushes the ideology you don't like and forces you to do things, like prevents us from having this meeting,
So what is
for
he
example,
talking about?
and shuts this down, like maybe it would happen in China, for instance. As soon as you allow that to happen, you will lose control of the government, and bad things will happen as a result. That's how we get fascism and all of that stuff.
Yeah, but do you see how you're not answering to
But
this?
the goal then is therefore to prevent that.
Here's
So
what
you
I'm
have to
asking
You have
again.
to structure the government so
Wait.
that you have the government's neutrality. It treats everyone the same,
Yeah.
and you build it so that it cannot
Richard, can
do
you answer
anything
to the
else.
question? If it's the case in democracy, people vote in Christian nationalism, how can you make the claim they don't want it? And if it's the case that we're after human flourishing, hang on, if it's the case that we're after human flourishing, isn't that, what you're basing this on is we should stop them from doing that, right?
Well, so as long as they're following the Constitution, it was built to prevent that, right? Then that's not going to happen, right?
Well, you
'Cause
can
there's-
vote in people to get rid of parts of the Constitution you don't like.
But changing the Constitution requires more than a majority vote. So, yeah, what would happen? Here's what would
hang on,
happen.
Back up.
If we got
People can vote in politicians, right, who can then do things which would change the Constitution, or there could be a constitutional convention.
You know how the Constitution? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
or
lot
there could
harder
be
to
a
get a
constitutional-
constitutional amendment change. So let's assume you've got a society
Well,
that's so.
and it depends on how the Supreme Court rules.
Let's
too.
assume you've got such a let's say it's 75% of the country now is Christian nationalists,
Yep.
and they actually get the legislatures they want. They actually in all the states and everything, and they get the Constitution changed. What my proposition would say is that's when things are going to go south. That is actually going to go against human interests because of all the past examples of this having happened before.
Yeah, so you want to stop them from doing that, right?
I would want to stop them from doing that.
Would you use force and persuasion to do that?
Only if they are breaking the law. If they're
Okay, but they
using-
change the law to their preference.
Yeah, I think in that case, if that happened, if the country actually
So I don't know if you could notice here, but what he's saying is actually fascism too. He's saying that, hey, I want a secular government. I don't want Christian values. I don't want Muslim values. I don't want Islamic values. I don't want anything. I want secular values in the government. And he's saying that's what a democracy is. You know, democracy, everybody gets a vote, majority wins. That's what a democracy is. So Andrew's saying, okay, well, what if we just vote in Christianity? And he's like, well, that's going against human interests. It's like, what are you talking about? Well, I mean, then the government could take over and they could change the rules. And it's just like, well, yeah, that's what we want to do. Don't you want to do the same just with secular? Like, you're just on the other team fighting for what you want. We're on the different team fighting for what we want. It's not like you're the moral that he puts himself in the moral place. Like, we are the mob. We're the outsiders. We're the bandits. We're the misfits. And he's like the goody two shoes in the castle, following the rules. He's the law and order. No, you're fighting for secular beliefs. We're fighting for Christian beliefs. And you don't want Christian beliefs. And he's saying, so would you, if we were to get in the government with Christian beliefs, would you use force and persuasion to stop it? If he agrees, then he would be a fascist.
Voted to destroy itself, I would have to leave.
Okay, so I just want to make sure though, would you use force rather than persuasion in that case to stop that from happening?
Only if they use force against me. If they're using force, then I'll use force. But if we had the whole country literally just decided this, to basically just
it's not the whole country.
Destroy the country.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
I would actually have to leave. And if they tried chasing me and finding me,
they're not trying to chase you and find you. Yeah. The spirit of the question is asking you. I'm asking you a simple question.
Force is met with force.
Yeah, I'm not asking you about force being met with force. I'm asking you if force should be used to prevent this if necessary. So, like, let's say, for instance, I don't know, 60% of the nation wanted it, and the rest of them didn't. Should they, at that point, be using force rather than persuasion?
So if they did it, like they actually did it, then I would just have to leave. Because if they're not
You're not answering the question, dude.
Unless they start using force against me. Like if they come for me to like kill all the atheists, well, now I have to fight them.
I'm asking you if it's the case that force should be used by people who are in a minority, if the majority is voting in these policies, yes or no?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Should people, if necessary, use force, even if it's the case that these are being voted in legitimately, right? Is there some problem with people using force at that point to stop it?
Well, I think at that point, it is the wrong word here. So like what then happens? So once they turn around, once they've done it, and they turn around and start using force on us.
Well, what force?
To go kill all the atheists? Or
no, they're not. No. They could just do things like, I don't know, no more gay marriage.
By the time, look at the French Revolution. By the time they get in there, you won't have control of what they decide at that point.
But
you could decide to go kill all the atheists.
But what I'm saying is that is it the case that you would, if you had X amount of like people in a minority, who they felt that they were being oppressed. They just weren't being oppressed with violence necessarily, unless it was a case they were then breaking laws.
At some point, it has to be violence. There has to be violence, right? And so if you're
then that would be the case with anything. If you just violate any law, there's violence.
If you take away all the rights, but then never enforce that, then you're basically just respecting rights.
I totally agree.
If you take away all the rights and then enforce that, you're using violence to take away people's rights.
I mean, this could be phrased however you want. There's a right for men and women to get married. That's it.
A right?
Yeah, you just say there's a right for men and women to get married. Now we're enforcing that right. Right?
Yeah,
and then homosexuals get married. They say, oh, well, and you're not allowed to do that. You're violating the law.
Well, so I'm pretty sure, if you want to follow the logic on that, I agree with the conservative Supreme Court decision written by Neil Gorsuch and concurred by Roberts on why actually that it follows out of the Civil Rights Act. That it would be against that. So you would have to overthrow the Civil Rights Act. Okay.
Or just have it reinterpreted or amended.
Yeah.
You could have things amended.
Right,
things like this. Well, what I'm saying is that these are all, this was done in a lawful way, right? To get these things done.
Had
Which
him
it
with
was,
that.
right? So,
Yeah, and if it's done in a lawful way to get them undone, right?
Yeah.
Is that now fascism?
what do you, yeah, no. So
Yes or no?
fascism.
Yeah
comes-
or no?
So if it's done in that way,
Yeah.
the process is not fascist. The end result might be if they start coming after you with billy clubs to like arrest gay.
Well, I mean, he's an atheist. He's gay. I mean, that's just the best they can do. And think about what they're trying to get you to come over to. Just degeneracy. Degeneracy. That's it. That's all he really has to offer. He's not going to reproduce. You know, he's having anal penetration. I don't know if he's giving it or receiving it. You know, maybe AIDS, bowel movements destroyed. Might have to wear an adult diaper pretty soon. And this is what he's arguing for. Hey, come to this side, guys. Come to this side. We got gays, we got lesbians, we got Satan. Now, of course, they would never say that because, that would just destroy their worldview. So they have to do these like little disingenuous arguments of trying to tear apart Christian values. Because that's all he's trying to do is tear apart, trying to rip apart, trying to destroy. That's all these people do. They're never like, hey, this is what we have to offer. This is how our worldview looks like. They're just like, well, if you try to make everybody Christian, like, that's mean. That could be bad. That could go wrong. And it's like, okay, and what do you want to do again? Have gay sex everywhere in front of kids? Okay, so let's stick with what we're doing. They don't have any better option. That's what you need to keep in mind with these people.